Hi, I'm Creative Katie, Karen Burchill, and you need to trust me. You will want this amazing multi-line mark maker. To the non-artist out there, these are simply root comb applicator bottles. The bottles that you would put hair dye in to color your roots. The dye comes out the nozzles and you apply it to your hair. But to us artists, to us creatives, these are an opportunity to make amazing marks and add them to our art journal pages. In a minute, I'm going to make marks with these and show you what you can do. But here is a sneak peek of some of the amazing marks you can get when you use these applicator bottles. Have I got you interested? I got mine on Amazon and they came in a pack of 3. You can get them in 4-packs or 1-packs. And I venture a guess that you can even get them in department stores, Walmart, maybe even Dollar Tree and Dollarama. FYI, this is not my original idea. I saw a video on this. As amazing as these bottles are, they are quite big and the nozzle has holes, which means it is not airtight. So if you use the applicator as it is, you will need to clean it out, empty the paint all the time. So then I was going to recommend that this would be a SAS builder. You fill the paint, make all the collage papers, clean up. That's what I was going to do. But then I thought to myself, I'd really like to be able to use this on an art journal page at various stages of the page, not just for collage papers that are in my stash. So when I opened it, I thought, I wonder if I have a lid somewhere that would seal this. And I looked around and I spotted my craft paint. And I thought, no way, this can't fit. So I went to my stash of old craft paint that I had and harvested some of the lids. And happy, they fit. So now when I'm done using the mark maker, I can seal the paint and leave the paint in here for another day. I still have to clean the nozzle after every use, but I consider this to be a win. And I'll show you how to clean the nozzle later in the video, so stay tuned. Then as I was preparing for this video, I thought, wait a minute. If the cap from the craft paint fits the bottle, maybe the nozzle fits the bottle. I tried it and look, it did. Mind blown. Now, why do I need the smaller bottles if I already have the applicator bottle? Well, as I said, these are 6 ounces and they're too big, storage, everything. These are 2 ounces. They are the right size and I have lots of them. So I can mix up different colors of paint and have them at the ready and just use the same 3 nozzles. That's another win. Let's talk about mixing the paint for these bottles. Now I'm going to use the smaller bottles moving forward. These ones are simply too big. I'm going to use my Liquitex Basics medium bodied paint. And the reason for this is I know from experience when I thin the paint for my fine line applicator bottles that this paint lasts a long time. It doesn't gunk up. I don't have any problems. So I'm going to go with a sure thing. I am going to do a little bit of experimenting and use this Liquitex Basic Fluid acrylics. I have white and gold. I bought them, don't like them, so I want to use them up. So I am going to attempt to use them for this. I'll report back how I find it working. So I've mixed up the gold here and added a little bit water. They're thinner, so the recipe changes. Speaking of recipes, there is no 100% solid recipe. It's kind of trial and error. You're going to put in some paint and add some water and try it with the nozzle and see if you like the effect. I'm doing approximately 2/3 paint, 1/3 water, or 50-50. I've mixed up the black in this applicator bottle when I was testing it out, and now I'm going to do white. So very simply, you're just going to put some of the paint in your bottle. I'm at the end of my tube here. So it's good time to use it up. Now you don't want to fill the bottle. You don't want 2 ounces of this because a little goes a long way. Now, when you're mixing the paint, like I said, you're going to do some experimenting. If you're using a different acrylic paint, it will be slightly different. If the paint is thicker, you may have to squeeze harder on the bottle. Adjustments will have to be made. Now, since I'm at the end of the bottle here, I'm doing what I've always done with my empty, when my bottles get to this stage, I'm scraping up the paint. Look at all the paint that's still in the tube when you can't squeeze any more out. Please, please, please don't waste this. So I'm simply putting the acrylic paint in there, tapping it down, and then add water a little bit at a time. So the paint is about up to here. So I'm just adding little by little. Take the time to add little by little so you don't end up having to put a lot of paint and mixing up more. Shake it up well. Please note that when it sits in the bottle, it's going to thicken up. So the next time you bring it out, you may have to add a little bit of water to get the right consistency. Again, experiment. So I'm looking at this, and as you do this, you're going to kind of be able to eyeball it, adding a little bit more water, shaking it up again. Again, there is no absolute recipe, trial and error, experiment, and see. What the result you get when it comes out of the tube will tell you if you've got it right, if you like it. You just go back and forth till you get it right. So I'm thinking I've got it about where I want it. So I'm just going to put the nozzle on, and then I'm going to test this on paper to see that the thickness is where I want it. So I have the white, the gold, which is using the fluid acrylic from Liquitex. This I'm doing a little bit of experimenting, which I need you to do as well. And then I have black, which is in the larger bottle, but I will be swapping that out for a smaller bottle down the road. So I'm going to keep it to black, white, and gold. These are what I use in my fine line applicator bottles, and I get a lot of use out of them. I might consider, because I have extra bottles now, using my bright aqua, because I tend to use that a lot and it adds a lot of interest to many of my pages. But again, you can use any color that you like. If you do a lot of browns, if you do a lot of Prussian blue, you can do that. Now, I am going to demonstrate some of the amazing marks you can make with this to give you some ideas of what you can do. But I implore you, mix up some paint, grab some recycled paper or book paper or any kind of paper, and play. Explore the possibilities of what you can create with these multi-line mark makers. There's nothing that's wrong, only possibilities. Don't be limited. Just play and have fun. So when you hold it down, it takes a while for the paint to come through, and you do have to put a little pressure. Here, I'm just making dots. If I hold it down longer, it will make bigger dots. I can make short lines or longer lines. If I hold it down, I can kind of make teardrops. It's thicker, and then I pull a line through. You do not have to put much pressure on it. But again, if you vary the pressure, vary the angle of the brush, here you can make longer ones. Sometimes the paint doesn't come out as expected. Embrace the imperfections of this. You can go vertical or horizontal or an angle. Now, once you make this on a page, instead of turning it into collage pieces, you can put this in a folder to reference later. Here's what I can do. But I recommend just having fun and go with the possibilities and the randomness of it. Stay tuned. We're going to do more with this. I'm going to do lots of different pages so you get an idea of, again, how wonderful this is. So this takes a while to dry, so you need some space. And if you're doing it as a stash builder, you're going to need a place to put these so they dry. You can do waves. Look at that. Isn't that amazing? A little bit of paint in here goes a long way. So be careful not to mix up large amounts. Every little twist and turn is going to give you a different pattern. If you like something, you can repeat it. But remember, when you use this as collage paper, you're going to use all of it or part of it. Look at how amazing that is. Now this, when it dries, will be textured as well. If you like things predictable, this may not be for you. Look at that spin. I'm having so much fun creating, and this is what you need to do. You can make crosshatch. Wouldn't that look nice collaged onto a page? Later, I'm going to show you how I use this on the page, but I'm going to keep that to a minimum. This video is getting to be a little bit long. Just a reminder not to mix up a lot of paint. If I hold it, get a dot, hold it, you get a dot. Another pattern. If you think to yourself, I wonder what would happen if, don't stop. Keep going with that thought. Try it. Worst case scenario, you've got a piece of recycled paper that's going in the trash. Best case scenario, you get some interesting marks that you can use to add excitement and originality to your page. What if I go like that? Oh, I like that. I love that you're able to do multiple lines all at once. So like I said, if you're using the applicator bottle, do a stash builder. Do multiple pages at one time to make the cleanup worth it. It is a bit of a chore to clean the nozzle, so make it count. Now, I thought to myself, I like using tissue paper. And the white would not show up on white paper. So if I put it on the tissue paper, the part that doesn't have paint on it goes translucent and you only see the white. And I know this because that's what I've done. So I thought that would be a good thing. So I did what I'm asking you to do is experiment. Now, when I did this with black paint on the paper, I knew that it's going to soak through the thin tissue paper. This is just Dollar Tree tissue paper. But when it dried, and it wasn't even fully dried, I put it on packaging because I knew it would be too flimsy to move, so I didn't want to move it. But when it was partially dried and I go to lift it, you can see it ripped, it smudged, it kind of sort of fell apart. Now I can still use this because it's a collage paper and little bits can be used, but it was a big problem. It was difficult to do. And I thought, okay, so tissue paper's out. But I really wanted to try the white. So I thought to myself, how can I make this a little bit more easy to do? So I'm still going to put it on the packaging, but instead of the larger tissue paper, I'm going to cut it down into more manageable, easy to lift pages. So that's what I'm doing here. And I'm just going to cut all these in preparation. And again, this is just Dollar Tree tissue paper. It's even got wrinkles in it. I don't care. That doesn't matter to me. So once they're more manageable, now I'm going to use the white applicator in this case, because I want to see if this really works when I collage it on. And then I'm just making the marks. And there's no problem. It doesn't rip at all. That's more user error. I'm just making some lines that I can then collage onto the paper. I can go around and around. And of course, where there's more paint, it's going to leak through. And as you can see, it's leaking through. But what if I lift it up now so it's not sticking completely and put it on another piece of packaging or paper? And what if I use my heat tool to dry it? Now, I wouldn't want to do a lot of these because this can get lengthy. But I'm just trying to see, is it possible? And I'm going to continue with that. So if it's not possible, you don't have to waste your time doing it, or you can try something different. So I'm just going to do another one here, and then I think I am going to dry both of them. Or that's my plan at this moment. Now, this part of the video, I am making collage papers that are going in the stash. Later on, I'm going to go directly onto pages to show you what can be done there, because you're not limited to just making collage pages. Loving the marks here and the versatility of this. It just excites me to see something different and relatively inexpensive. So again, I'm transferring this to a clean packaging so it doesn't stick as much. And I realize that it's on the packaging. The packaging will melt with my heat tool. So I'm taking it, putting it on my silicone mat where it can sit flat, and I can use the heat tool. And this worked. I think I'm going to do the same with my gold paint. I like the idea of everything around it going translucent and not having the white in around it. So off camera, I'm going to do the gold the same way. So I have some papers that have gold on them. Takes a little bit of time to dry, but I think it's going to be worth it to have some of this in my stash. Now this is rice paper. It's a brand of rice paper that I got, and I'm not using it. It's a little thicker than a lot of the rice papers that you would get from Stamperia. Basically, I'm using this as collage papers. I'm not sure how this is going to collage down, but I'm determined to get things out of my stash that I'm not using and turn them into something that is usable. So at best, this is going to be somewhat different than the copy paper. At worst, it's going to be equal to the copy paper, but I won't have it in my stash anymore. but you can source out different rice papers from different companies and they'll be different. I just am hoping that you are amazed, as I am, with the different kind of marks that you can make with this. And you see the possibilities that this opens up for just adding variation and uniqueness to your pages. There's nothing that you can do here that's wrong. It does soak a little bit through the rice paper, but it is more stable than the tissue paper and it doesn't fall apart. So I probably still would put it on packaging and then set that on the floor just so I don't have paint seeping through onto my floor or my counter. So let's continue to play because I want to give you a great idea of what you can get with this. I want you to be so excited that you go and check this out on Amazon, which is what I did when I saw it in that video. And I wish I could remember whose video it was so I could give them credit. But I love taking non-art tools and turning them into amazing art tools. So here we can do dots. And as I'm doing this, I'm thinking, wouldn't this be nice to do a border of a page like this? Yes. I used to do this with my fine line applicator bottle and it would take forever. So I hope you are as excited about this as I am. Now, as the paint, you run out of paint, please note that there is lots of paint that's in that nozzle cap area. And I'll address that when it comes to the cleaning down the road. Because remember, I promised you I'm going to show you how to clean this correctly or in a way that may minimize the problem of cleaning it. So as you can see, the rice paper does come through, so you need to, be aware of that. Now, you can put it on blank paper. You could also put it on book paper. This is dictionary paper. And here you get the added advantage of you get the text and the mark. So it's like stamping and mark making all in one step. And then once this is dry, you just rip parts of it up and use it as you would any collage paper. And if you like this effect, you will do more of this. But it's a way of doubling down and saving time. And, I hear from a lot of you that you just don't have time. And I put the two pieces on some of that packaging so that it's easy for me to put it on the floor. And right now I have, my entire floor is covered with collage papers that are drying. And left to their own devices, it does take a bit of time for it to dry. So you can put this directly on an art journal page. This page is gessoed. This is, I believe, my prompt journal. And you can either the white, although the white I'd probably do it later on in the art journal process. But black, you can break the page. So this is my playing with prompts. This is a composition book. Again, this page is gessoed. You don't necessarily need it to be gessoed to put this layer on. So you can break a whole bunch of pages with one full swoop. And then once that's dry, then you continue and finish the page. But you have that. It's also done you the favor of breaking the page. So if you have fear of that blank page, we kind of get away from that. I love this. I'm excited about taking this page and finishing it up. Now here's an art journal page that is in my accidental art journal. This is where I would put leftover paint. So when I get to the cleaning stage, I might put it in here. Now here's a background that, I've added things and it's kind of at a stalled stage. So I'm not sure what I want to do, but I'm thinking, okay, let's just use this applicator on here. So you can use these applicators in the middle or the end of your art journal page. You can also do it directly on gel prints or painted papers like this. And I'm going to do a couple of these as well down the road. You just have to be mindful of the cap needs to be cleaned after every use. So you really don't want to just do one page, one mark at a time, because that you're going to end up wasting some paint. And I personally don't like having to clean the nozzle that much. So I'm going to want bang for my buck. So here I'm just adding some of these swoops on there. Again, I have no idea where this page is going, but you know what? I've kind of knocked back some of that what's there. And now there's some different possibilities with this page. Here's a plain mixed media page. You can break these too. The advantage of this, unlike the composition books, is I can do several of these pages. I can break them, put different marks on them, and then they can just sit until I'm ready and I have the start of the page. So these are, as I said, gel prints, and I've got no particular plan. I just know that these are gel prints that I've kind of pulled out of my stash that I'm thinking they need a little something, something, and I'm just playing. Am I adding value? Are they done yet? I don't think so, but I'm just adding something in there, and I can add black and white onto any of the pages. Right now, I'm experimenting. Is this like a knockout gel print page that I'm adding detail on? I don't think so. But I want to see what I can do. Worst case scenario, again, this goes in the garbage. But remember, most of your collage papers, you're not using as Insta backgrounds. You're ripping them up using bits and pieces. And right now, all I'm adding is a little more interest to what's already there. So even though I'm not in love with this and would use it as an Insta background in the completion, I think that I am now would be more willing to use this page, adding that white and black contrast to it. Now, I didn't let the black dry, which means that when I'm going over some of that area, it's getting gray. If you like that, keep doing it. If you don't, stop doing it, right? You got to let it dry in between. But for the sake of this video, I'm not drawing everything the way I would if I was just here playing by myself. One of the things that I like doing here was, and I'm not doing it on here, would take the applicator after when it's wet paint and drag it through the wet paint, and it kind of drags it out. Now these, while I'm playing, because I've got the black and the white going, they are drying a bit in the nozzles. It doesn't take much. So I recommend just doing one color at a time if you're doing a stash builder instead of two, to prevent it from clogging and then giving you a problem to have to unclog it. So again, I can just put a swoop on this page. Now, this is going to take a long time to dry, but I've added something onto this. This, while I like the page, I'm just going to add some white details to this. And this one, I kind of really think I added a lot of value to it. I like it better at the end, once I've added using the applicator, than when I started. So you can put a little bit of this on a page, or you can put a lot of it on the page. There, I'm kind of dragging it through again, and it's giving a slightly different effect with it. And I'm loving that, going over it a couple times. Hadn't done that before. So this is the advantage of playing. At some point, your brain stops thinking and you just start doing. And remember, you will be ripping these pages up. So while everything is drying and I can't move to the next step, let's talk about cleaning. So once you're done with the applicator for the day, what you want to do is have it sit and let gravity pull the paint, because there is lots of paint in that top part of the nozzle. You want to have the gravity pull it down. But the gravity doesn't pull all the paint down. So this is what you need to watch. And this is imperfect because normally I would be doing this more like at a sink in a different place. So you're going to take the nozzle off, seal the paint. Whatever's left in there, if there's enough to save, I am going to put the cap on and save it. There's not much black paint here, so I will probably put the nozzle back on after I show you this and use it all up, because there's no point in saving a little bit because it will dry up and then you have a problem getting it out of the bottle. Now you can see that there is a lot of paint in that nozzle. And what you want to do is remove as much of that as possible. So grab a blank or empty bottle, and I'm just going to use the black for the sake of the video so you can see it better. And you put the empty bottle there and grab your accidental art journal, grab some paper, and just put a lot of pressure on there and blow as much of that paint out as you can, right? It saves it from going in the garbage. And maybe it turns into something. Now, because there's not exactly a great amount of paint here, you're not going to get it so perfect. This would be a perfect time to, put it on a tag, break a page, put it on a collage paper, put it in your accidental art journal, right? Use up the paint, don't waste it, but, get it out of that cap. And as imperfect as it is, I am blowing a lot of that out of there. So I highly recommend this. So, but you do need an empty bottle, which is great that the craft paint bottles work, because I'll always have an empty bottle. So here, just dragging it through. I love that look. And even as I'm just playing here and dragging it through all the wet paint, discovering that that's just adding some more interest to this collage paper. So what was basically just getting rid of used paint has now turned into another collage paper sheet that I can rip up and put on my art journal page. Now, as much fun as you're going to have making these collage papers, don't make so much that you can't possibly use it. Make some and then keep them close at hand so you use them up. It's not about storing them, it's about using them. So here's, I think, the white paint. And this is a art journal, a DIY art journal that I made using gel prints. And I'm just going to add some white to it. Again, I have no plans of doing this page, but you know what? I'm adding some interest to it. I think this was a positive addition. And I'm using up the leftover paint that's in that nozzle. So here's why I like the white. I put the white on the tissue paper because I think I can use it that way. But here's the other way I would use white. But again, I am not going to take out the nozzle, mix up the paint, and do only one page. So I may do a white stash builder at the same time, or a mini stash builder. So it's worth, I love that mark. Oh, as I'm watching this back, I'm thinking, this is really nice. I'm really liking the effect. So now I'm just going to wipe off the paint there. And, I've taken out as much as I can in that fashion. Now, this comes apart, and it's easier to come apart when it's actually on the tube. Just have to twist and look at all that paint that's in there. So I don't want this to go down the drain. So I'm going to wipe all this up. Can you imagine how much paint was in there if we hadn't removed the paint in the way I just showed? So you can throw this in a tub of water. You can use your Murphy's oil soap, dish soap mixture and get rid of it. But what I would do, I'm, kind of grabbing, here I'm wiping it into my cloth that I keep handy. But you can look, I often grab excess plies of napkins that I have, or this is a baby wipe that has dried that was sitting on the, that I'd use. I reuse these things as much as possible. So I want to remove as much of this as you can. But you can see down below, there's lots. Now, again, at this stage, I probably would take it where I have a tub of water and doing it not on my desk. But I can't videotape outside of my studio. So I'm just using that. I'm using my palette knife here, just again to agitate the paint and get it out, because you absolutely want to get it out of those nozzles. If it dries in there, it's going to clog. And while you can use a pin or something to get at that, it's just as easy to put the effort in now and make sure that the paint isn't there. I'm using my stencil brush. Later on, I grab an old toothbrush that I use. I'm just trying to get as much of that paint off. Now, at this stage, I would take it to the sink and run it under water. But you don't want to put a lot of acrylic paint down your drain for the obvious reason that it's like a plastic. So now I'm going to put water through it. Now I would do this at the sink and put the lid on, snap the applicator back together. And you want to run this. This is just my water tub. Keep running water through it until it runs clear. Now you can just do water, or you can do, if it's gunked up already, if it's dried because you didn't get to this soon enough, then you may want to use the Murphy's oil soap and let it soak into the nozzles. Here I'm just kind of pressing it in the water. It sucks up water and then presses it out. Now if you can't wash it right away, I'd recommend fully submersing the applicator once you've removed some of the paint in water. So let's just recap the cleaning process. Let it sit vertically so that the paint drips out, let gravity do it. You want to be mindful of the time that you are using it so that it's not clogged. Put an empty bottle on. And get rid of as much of that paint. Make a collage page, break pages as you can. Use the air to force as much of that paint out. Then, once you've done that, you're going to take apart the nozzle. Now, I don't know that all the nozzles fall apart. I will link mine, and you're going to wipe off the excess paint that's there. Use old baby wipes, use a rag, whatever is handy. Get out as much of that as you can. If you can't do it right now, you want to submerge this so that it doesn't dry, especially the narrow nozzles. Once you've removed as much of that paint as you can, and you're going to use a toothbrush or a stencil brush, whatever, to get it out, you're going to put it back together and put water in the bottle. You can put water or a mixture of the Murphy's oil soap and let it squeeze it out. And you're going to continue doing that till all the nozzles run clear. If something is gunked up and it's plugged, I suggest putting Murphy's oil soap in there, putting it upside down. It won't run out, and let it soak, and it will break down the acrylic paint, and then you'll be able to clear the nozzle. You can also, the nozzles, it's very, very small, so I don't know if you have a pin or a wire that's small enough that you can put in there to remove it. So this is my Murphy's oil soap. It's Murphy's oil soap, a couple glugs, a couple squirts of dish soap, and the rest is water, and I use it cleaning in my studio all the time. So take care of your nozzles, and then you're going to continue being able to use it to make marks over a long period of time. So now that you have all these collage papers, the next step is using them. But because this video is getting long, I've kind of done the work off camera, and I'm going to give you a summary of what works and what doesn't. So here are the pile of papers that I collected after they're finally dry. So one of the things that I wanted to know was, is it worth the effort of putting it on tissue paper? So here's the result. This was the white that I then glued down with fluid matte medium. As expected, the areas where there was no paint went translucent when I glued it down, and I love it. So definitely worth the effort. And there is a close-up of that. It adds a lot to each page. Putting it on collage papers and using Rip-A-Strip and using it as collage papers, putting it on gel prints, another win. Remember, these aren't the final products. It's one layer on a page. Then you're going to add stamping, stenciling, what have you. Putting it on the rice paper that I had, that was a fail. It does not go translucent when you glue it down, and I didn't like it. But it does work when you put it on a page. It's thinner than copy paper, so I still might use it, but not expecting it to go translucent. Putting it on book paper, putting it on copy paper. Here's the book paper. You can still see the text even after I put a layer of paint. And here are the ones off the copy paper that I've used as collage strips and then colored them afterwards. Definite win. I glued it down with fluid matte medium first, and then I colorized it with my makeup sponge. So I would definitely use that in there. And there are the tag that I created using that. Using the applicator and going directly on a background that already exists, I love that. So putting it on a gel print that you can use as an Insta background, putting it on, a gel print journal that you already have, like that little one, that works too. Now, the book paper that I put it on, you can glue it down and then colorize it, or you can actually put it on copy paper and colorize it on the copy paper and then collage it, just for an alternative. Putting a swoosh on breaking the page, I love that. And I would do some on tags, ATCs, some art journal page. Usually I would do a few of those pages if I did a mini stash builder and I had the paint out. So all in all, I am loving the marks that this allows me to have. I definitely need to play more with it, to experiment, and I will be doing that in upcoming videos. So if you're interested to see where I go with this, stay tuned. Trust me, you're going to want this mark maker.